Cool, so we're recording now. I'm with someone I met off of the internet. He is a musician, entrepreneur, a hustler. A Are you a coder, a programmer as well? Or
Well, I work in IT. So yeah, I work as a broadcast streaming technician. So more I wouldn't say coding. I say more in like network infrastructure, but
infrastructure, marketing, that
yeah, but
thing. Okay,
whatever we got to do to keep the art alive.
for sure, for sure. He goes by Vega. Um, and we can just start right away. This is Pan Africa Connect, and we're gonna kind of explore Pan Africanism through the lens of your specific culture within the Black diaspora. So let us know, what is your ethnic, what is your cultural identity, if you were to describe yourself?
Black.
See, now that's too easy though. That's too easy. We
No,
know you're
I
black.
mean, like that's because that's what I identify as. Like I'm not. Unfortunately, I don't have like upbringing of like a Caribbean culture or like any of that. You know, majority of my folks are from like the South. Majority of them are like from California, Oakland area, Phoenix area. So it's kind of like in that regard, like native, if anything else, other than being black, is like I'm native to this land. So for the last 5, 6, 7 generations that I'm able to trace back, it's like they've all been here.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know, that I guess the terminology black would be basically the lazy way of doing it, but at the same time, it's like I'm not talking about the skin color. I'm talking about like the mindset. So, but yeah,
100%. But you know, so you said you're not Caribbean, you're not African, you're not Afro Latino, but those folks will kind of proudly say, I am from, Guyana, I am from Trinidad and Tobago, I'm from. So what makes you say black over, let's say, African American or?
um, the reason I say that because I have friends that are from like that are from Africa, you know, from like Nigeria, Lagos, Burkina Faso, whatever the case may be. So they're Africans that are living in America. So they would be African American opposed to me. Like I'd be native to this land.
I see.
Because as far back as I could trace, my forefathers, my aunts, my uncles, my lineage has all been rooted here. Like, granted, you know, you take your ancestry and you hope that this information that's coming down the pipeline is accurate. But as far as for me and mine, it's like, nah, excuse me, my apologies.
No, it's
I'm
okay.
native to this land, to this soil. Like, so that's why I say more than anything is like, I am black. I'm of the original men, like the original people, like black man. You know what I'm saying? Black woman. That's where we kind of like come from. So, and that's not to like disrespect anybody else's culture or case, because at the end of the day, we're all connected. But it's kind of like, hey, I was having this conversation with a young lady the other day, and she was like, even if you lived in Nigeria
Yeah.
and you lived in Nigeria for the last 5 to 10 years,
Right.
and you came from a horrible background, you had your kids there, your kids were born there, they would still look at you and say you're not Nigerian, right?
Very likely. Yep. Very likely.
Yeah, so it's kind of like in that regard, like all my history comes from here. You know, all my family's history, all the pictures, all the documentations, it comes from here. So when I think about, yes, I do. Yes, we are connected. You know, same with the brothers across the continent. But Tupac has said it. He's like, a lot of us, we try to go take care of what's over there instead of taking care of what's here first. It's like, let us fix our house before we try to go start helping everybody else in their own backyard.
Oh, that's without a doubt. Like that's very important. But what I'm discovering is that um, many layers to that because
Yeah.
you are definitely not Nigerian. You may have Nigerian ancestry, but
Oh yeah.
Nigeria didn't come around until 1960 something, 1960.
Yeah.
So it's like you're not really Nigerian because Nigeria didn't exist when you're
Until
exactly. So you don't have that context of colonialism and whatnot. Whereas I do, and that's kind of the difference. It's experiences, right? It's a history, like you said. But I love the term you use, original man. Can you explore that?
Everyone, well, black man comes from black woman is God. everybody knows that despite whatever your skin color is or your ethnicity, you know, you can always be traced back to us. Whether it's science, whether it's literature, whether it's the performing arts, it all originated within our minds, within our hands. And I just look at, in order, how can I put it, in a world that's constantly changing, in a world that's constantly growing and evolving, there's one of the two most hated people we just happen to be, which is great to me. Like, I love it. There's nothing better than being a black man. Like, you know, being the most hated, it's just like, oh, you guys know I have greatness within me. It's just up to us to pull it out, you know. But as far as for being the original, like, yeah, we were the original. We are everything that people hope to be and hope to gain. So it's kind of like the world is going in shambles because they keep trying to put band-aids over. They keep trying to put, it's, how can I put it? There's a terminology like, if you build on a strong foundation, there's no limit to where you can go, where you can reach. But the foundation of which the world was built on was the original people, which is us.
Yeah.
So by not doing right by us, it doesn't matter how many band-aids, how much spackle, how many statues you take down, you're not fixing the issue because you haven't done right by the original people. So that's what I kind of mean. Like, yeah.
Yeah, basically acknowledging the fact that, like, from humanity, humanity came from people who look like us, essentially.
Yeah, facts. Every story, like we're taught, like, you know, growing up, we're taught about, like, read Homer's Odyssey and things along that line, and like Plato's and stuff like that. But it's like, well, where do they study at? They had to go study in Egypt, and they weren't studying for 4 years to get like a bachelor's. They had to study for like 30 years.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of like to
Cairo.
study in Cairo. You know, like, why is the 25th dynasty like white from history completely? Like, you know, like the Kushites. There's certain things that there's certain things that are removed and hidden for their pleasures, but it does and it continues to do a lot of damage to us. You know, like, it's like you create the world and you don't even get credit. All they tell you is like, yeah, you came in on ships.
Right.
Like, you guys belong on a circus. It's like, wow, the insults.
Yeah. And if we think about, you know, folks who come from our culture and look like us as the original man, that is one of the deepest insults, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, if your civilization was inspired by and birthed by and influenced by our cultures, and you literally came by our cultures, people who look like us who migrated, then, like, you know, to insult us in that way is definitely problematic. But
it just lets us know how you really feel about us. Is it on? Oh, these are dead. I mean, not even like how you feel about us, just how you feel about yourself and what you're willing to do in order for you guys to remain in this sense of power that you have. So then we start looking at things like, they say, in God we trust. Well, what God do you serve? Because the God I serve would never do something like this. It would never.
And okay, so you going deep, bro. And like, I feel like you are a well of wisdom when it comes to these thoughts and these topics, like, from what I know from talking to you.
Yeah.
So I want to know, just my follow-up question is, growing up, in what ways did your environment or your parents or your upbringing inspire the identity you have right now, the cultural identity you carry right now?
Bro, I mean, honestly, my upbringing was like, I mainly grew up on the south side of Phoenix, Arizona, right? So when people think about like black businesses or like black entrepreneurship, they automatically think about Tulsa, you know, and Black Wall Street, but they miss places like Watts, California, as well as Phoenix. Phoenix also had a heavy industry of an industrial setting. So, but growing up there, I was born in like in the 90s. What you witness is we're still plagued by certain things. Like, as a kid, I remember seeing people walk around strung out on meth. I remember seeing, like, you know, shootings happen 24/7, like stepping over dead bodies, like going to get a Star Crunch, walking through the alley, you know, just like certain things within my environment. So I've been working since I was literally like 8, you know. So my first day of school, instead of me going to class, my grandfather, I played hooky and I went straight to work with him. And I think that was his way of showing me, like, yo, whatever you do in this life, you also got to know how to work. Work smart, work hard, do both, but at the same time, make sure that you're working. And I guess that, how can I put it? the environment around us, they do everything in their power to exclude us. So being a curious kid, being like like you said, a writer, being someone that has been an entrepreneur since I was a kid, you have to figure out, all right, 1+1 don't equal 4. So I need to figure out who made this reference, where are they making this reference from, and then really just dissect it and really study yourself. Like you find people that you want to be like, or that you really like, whatever they're doing in your life, and you kind of like try to emulate them. For instance, like one of my biggest inspirations is Nipsey, right? So Nipsey will always, in interviews that he was doing, he'd tell you the book that he was reading. And if you found the book that he was reading, which I did, you can start to build you can start to build a catalog and start to renew your mind. And that was just like something that I had to do. Like, I'm the oldest out of 7, you know, like single mother household,
Yeah.
project baby, you know, welfare, like government cheese and things along that line. So just even for us to be sitting here and discussing like the world that's shaping and the world that's changing is going to be extremely beautiful for the melanated and carbon people that are going to be coming up. You know what I'm saying? Like the kids now, I can only imagine their confidence, you know, because
Yeah.
I would always imagine like where I grew up is in my backyard is where the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's house is, right? So whenever he got sick, they moved him to the south side of Phoenix because the air there was a lot drier. So growing up, hearing Farrakhan, it hit differently, you know. Seeing the nation deliver papers, it hit differently because I had uncles that sold drugs. I had uncles that were cops, you know. I had cousins that were dope fiends, and I had cousins that were like just running the mill trying to make it. So I was able to see at every level how white supremacy and systematic racism has affected multiple generations. And just being a young kid that was super curious and a nomad and an explorer, it led me to say, you know, well, there has to be someone out there that has these same questions like I do. Give me 1 second, my phone is about to die. Um, there has to be that also are having these thoughts, you know, because we're all from like the same collective. I just think my surrounding was more. It helped shape me for who I am and what I had to be and who I'm becoming. You know, like I don't think I could have been. This is no slack and no disrespect to anybody else, because I know a whole bunch of kids that were born in suburbia and they're phenomenal, upstanding people. But I don't think personally for me that could have worked. You know, I think I needed to be shaped by my surroundings. I needed to grow up in the barrio, you know what I'm saying, with like the essays and the Chicanos and stuff like that, you know. I needed to grow up eating like tamales and seeing how they hustle nonstop and seeing how like, okay, they got a resources that they pull from called the tundra. You know what I'm saying? Like I wouldn't know that in the Black community because we don't